Hey there, I'm Brian McKenna. We're back for part 6 of our series answering your most common questions about CBD. Question number 6 is this one: what forms of CBD are available on the market? There is so much to talk about on this question, so let's dive right in. Before we talk about each form of CBD, it's important to understand how hemp plants work. First of all, you need to know that hemp is known as a great soil detoxer. It means it pulls metals and other chemicals out of the soil and up into the plant as it grows. That's great if you have contaminated soil you're trying to clean up. It's not so great if you are planning to use that plant material in your body, because there's a big risk of contamination from chemicals and metals in the soil that get into the hemp extract. And that's why you need to be very cautious about your source of CBD and how your CBD is extracted from that source. Now, there are generally 4 categories of CBD available in the market today: full spectrum, broad spectrum, isolate, and smart spectrum. So let's take a look at each one of these individually. The first one is full spectrum CBD. Full spectrum CBD is an extract of hemp plant that includes trace amounts of THC as well as other naturally occurring terpenes and compounds. Now, some people suggest that there are therapeutic benefits to having the THC and those other hemp terpenes in this product, but there is also a risk of the psychotropic effects of the THC if the amount of THC is too high in that particular plant. Of course, there's also the risk of triggering a positive result on a THC test if you're forced to do a test for your job or any other condition where you're required to do a drug test. So if you are the subject of drug testing, this is definitely not the CBD product for you, since those trace amounts of THC can definitely trigger that positive result. One more concern is that you also have risk of contamination from chemicals and metals in the soil that I talked about earlier being included in this full spectrum CBD because of the way it's extracted. And that really depends a lot on the soil and depends on the cultivation practices. Now, the next form of CBD that's out there in the market is what's referred to as a broad spectrum CBD. A broad spectrum CBD is an extract of hemp plant that includes terpenes and other compounds, but where the THC has somehow been chemically extracted from the distilled product. Now, with this, you get the benefits of having those other hemp-based terpenes or compounds without the risk of the THC side effects and the risk of a positive test on a drug test. Now, you still have concerns about soil contamination finding their way into broad spectrum CBD products, so that's something that you're going to want to be cautious about if you choose to go with a broad spectrum CBD product. The next category, the third category, is what's referred to as a CBD Isolate. In this case, pure CBD is extracted as a crystalline powder from the distilled CBD product, so that it contains nothing at all but pure CBD in a powder form. There are no other molecules from the hemp plant included with this. There's no THC, there is no other terpenes, and there is no risk of contamination from other chemicals that may be in the soil. This minimizes all those risks from contamination, but you don't have the added benefits of those other hemp terpenes that can sometimes help your body and also be a part of the endocannabinoids that you need to bring that balance to you in homeostasis to your ECS. So those other hemp products, those other hemp terpenes are not included when it comes to a CBD isolate, and that can be a problem. The fourth and final category is referred to as smart spectrum CBD. Smart spectrum CBD combines the very best attributes of the broad spectrum and the isolate varieties together. What they do is they take a pure CBD isolate powder and then they combine it with pure essential oils that provide the terpene molecules that enhance the benefits of the CBD and interact with your endocannabinoid system. So you get all the benefits of a very terpene-rich CBD without the risk of contamination from THC or without the risk of contamination from heavy metals and other contaminants in the soil. Now, let's take a quick moment to compare those 4 categories very briefly. Okay, so according to this chart, the first one we looked at, full spectrum CBD. Again, this includes trace amounts of THC and other naturally occurring terpenes and compounds. The THC content will be relatively low. In fact, in order for it to be labeled and sold legally, it has to contain less than 0.03% THC, but up to 0.03% THC is allowed in a full spectrum CBD. The next category, broad spectrum CBD, it includes the terpenes and the other compounds, but most of the THC has been chemically extracted. So you'd find very, very low levels of THC in a broad spectrum CBD, but you get the benefits of the terpenes that go along with the CBD. It helps enhance those benefits. CBD Isolate is the third category. With this one, you get a crystalline solid or powder that contains pure CBD with no other molecules from the hemp plant. And then the fourth and final category is the Smart Spectrum CBD. That's where you have CBD Isolate from category 3, but then you combine it with essential oils from other plants in order to add the terpene molecules back in to enhance the benefit of the CBD and improve the interaction with it on your ECS. Now, my opinion is that the Smart Spectrum CBD is the way to go if you want the most benefit with the least amount of risk. And in our next part, we're going to look at how you can get started with Smart Spectrum CBD.